Hello everyone, my name is Shomo Prabhu Mukherjee and we will discuss our project on the automotive industry in India and the various disruptions that has impacted and will impact this industry for years to come. So I will take you through the introduction and the industry analysis of this particular industry. So let's begin.
The Indian automotive sector has evolved and has gone a long way since the launch of India's first family car, the Maruti 800. Post-liberalization era filled with growth of the urban middle class, demographic changes, rising income, and higher quest for socio-economic status among the new age working generation is poised to help the Indian automotive sector grow in the upcoming decade. India is home to over 230 million vehicles, ranging across four different segments of two-wheelers, three-wheelers, passenger vehicles, and commercial vehicles. It is estimated that in the year 2020, India's share in the global passenger vehicle market would touch 8% and northwards. India is currently the world's largest two-wheeler manufacturer, and its production is to rise at a CAGR of almost 16% to reach 34 million of two-wheelers manufactured in the year 2020. Domestic sales of passenger vehicles are expected to grow at a CAGR of 12.87% compared to that of 11.07% in the commercial vehicle segment over the period of 2016 to 2026. The two-wheeler segment during the same time period is expected to grow at a CAGR of 11.9%. Now we begin with the detailed industry analysis of the Indian automotive sector. For industry analysis, Porter's five forces is our method. The five factors are competitive rivalry, threat of new entrants, bargaining power of customers, bargaining power of suppliers, and threat of substitutes. So, we are going to discuss each and every aspect one by one. First, let us discuss the competitive rivalry. Competitive rivalry has increased post liberalization to a great extent. The competition has turned more intense after the entry of foreign players like Volkswagen and Ford in low priced hatchback segment. So, foreign firms have aggravated the competition by changing their traditional designs and substituting it to cater to the Indian needs. So, we can conclude that the competitive rivalry in this industry is pretty high. Next, we come to the threat of new entrants. The threat of new entrants is generally medium because of the brand equity and capital intensive nature of the business. But considering India, foreign firms with capital have done pretty well. The third factor is the threat of substitutes. The threat from substitute products continues to be low, with public transportation being underdeveloped even in big cities of India. Changing travel patterns and the convenience also give it an edge. The next thing that we are going to discuss in Porter's five forces model is the bargaining power of suppliers. So the bargaining power of suppliers is low as most of the auto component manufacturers are specialized in some segments related to only one client. Suppliers in turn depend on them. And the final thing is bargaining power of customers. In a market like India, there is a lot of bargaining power available to the customers as there are a variety of products and it still depends on the market and it is pretty high.
Hello all, myself Istika Sarkar and I'll be taking up the topic of notable trends in the automotive sector in India. So the automotive industry is fragmented and complex in terms of its operations, and the aspects we'll be looking at are new age financing, new product development capabilities, alternative fuel, etc. So let's take a look. We start with new product launches. With an increased entry of foreign players into the market, a range of products starting from utility vehicles to high end luxury vehicles are available in the Indian market. Product life cycles have reduced owing to newer options using latest technology and parts. The next is improving product development capabilities. With newer players entering into markets, companies are increasingly looking to invest in R&D projects to come up with new designs, easy to use models of vehicles. One such development is the Volvo Group signing an MOU with IISc Bangalore to undertake the R&D of future automotive technologies. The next is alternative fuels. With the stress being laid on stricter emission norms, companies are looking to develop new vehicle using alternative fuel sources. This includes companies like Mahindra and Mahindra, Tata Motors, Hyundai, and Maruti Suzuki, etc. The next is new financing options. To encourage buyers purchase vehicles, Indian car makers such as BMW, Toyota, Skoda, etc. have started providing customized finance to customers through NBFCs. Also, companies and MNCs are looking to lease vehicles instead of buying them to decrease their capital expenditures. The next is investments.
The anticipation of increased customer base of automobiles in India has led companies, both domestic and foreign, to invest in this sector. At the same time, new OEM manufacturers are attracting investments from various private equity firms. The next is new age technology. Cutting edge technology such as blockchain and IoT will play a major role in the next decade, from new play development to ride sharing and car leasing, which will change the landscape of industry altogether.
My name is Priyanka Sirohi. I am going to discuss various kind of disruptive forces that are going to shape the future of automobile industry. There are majorly three kind of forces which are impacting this industry. First one is blockchain and IoT. Second, electric vehicle and alternate fuel. And third one is ride splitting and or ride sharing. Major disruptive force is blockchain and IoT. Blockchain and IoT will impose a major disruption in automotive sector altogether. Vehicles will no longer be considered as mechanical moving object but will themselves generate a lot of data, and this could be used to understand pattern of riders, safety issues and efficiency of vehicle. According to Intel, just one autonomous vehicle will generate around 4000 gigabytes of data per day. But while these changes are inevitable, leaving that data unsecured or only loosely secured can't be acceptable. Blockchain technology is impacting various areas in the industry like supply chain management, insurance claim processing, retail sales, service and finance, safety and security. Second major disruptive force is electric vehicle and alternate fuel. In a recent report released by Society of Manufacturers of Electric Vehicles in November, around 25,000 electric vehicles were sold in the country during the last fiscal year. In India, large companies are all set to launch their electric vehicle during the year 2019 to 20. Now I am going to discuss ride sharing and ride splitting. The Indian government, through its plans, policies, and large infrastructure projects, promoted urban mobility and public transport. But the behavior of masses could not be altered significantly by government, although various state of art measures are being implemented. But startups like Ola and Uber have significantly changed the attitude toward ride sharing and ride splitting. Car ownership is being replaced by car usership, which lets the user experience car ride without even have to worry about fuel prices or maintenance charges. Uber and Ola have contributed to this new model of increasing public transportation. The ride sharing model and self driven car rental ventures are posed to undergo rapid changes before they get start growing. But trend shows that these models are getting significant interest from the commuters. The graph shows some fact regarding the positive effects of ride sharing.
Hello everyone, my name is Sudhato Endo and I will guide you through the different phases that the Indian automotive industry is currently going through and in the process simultaneously evolving. Along with that, I'll also introduce you to the value chain analysis that this industry is creating currently. So let's take a look. The automotive industry as a whole is undergoing both an introduction phase and a growth phase in India and many of the emerging markets across the globe. In many of the OECD countries, the automobile sector is in its maturity stage, but the mobility space is yet to get stability. In the Indian context, the industry is undergoing massive transformation by adoption of new technologies from foreign counterparts who are entering into joint ventures and mergers with domestic players. Post liberalization and introduction of foreign brands in the market, the customer now has a choice to taste models of different brands suiting his or her needs. Now, with the advent of ride sharing, vehicle design can see such innovation with engine capacity and lifetime requiring specifications to suit such requirements.
Hello, I'm Shobhadip Banerjee, and as in the project, I'll be taking you through a little bit of guide on the value chain and the phase analysis of the Indian automobile sector. The automotive sector is predominantly dominated by the automobile sector, as we see, and we have a lot of domestic and international players. So, what phase the industry is in right now, currently, that we will be discussing in this video. As mentioned earlier, the automobile sector in India is in its growth phase. Foreign companies with their technology and state of art designs have captured the Indian middle class. Easy access to vehicular loans has empowered the common man to purchase cars and two wheelers. Sales of passenger cars and two wheelers have been increasing, so is the commercial vehicle segment. Increased disposable incomes have led to higher consumption and, in turn, boosted trade. Trade requires commercial and utility vehicles, which are further added to its sales figures.
The following table illustrates the production and sales figures. If you see the different categories, the passenger vehicles have increased from 32 lakhs to 40 lakhs, whereas commercial vehicles has just reached a lakh figure. The three-wheeler segment has increased its sales from around 1 lakh from the year 2012 to 2017, whereas the two-wheeler segment has reached from 1 crore 57 lakhs to around 2 crore 31 lakhs. If we look at the sales figures, so the passenger vehicles have sales have increased from 26 lakhs to around 32 lakhs from the year 2012 13 to 17 18, and the commercial vehicles have also seen a rise, although minimal. For the three-wheeler segment, it's like 5 lakh 38 to around 6 lakh 35. That's a lakh increase. And for two-wheelers, the product sales have increased from 1 crore 37 lakhs to around 2 crore 1 lakh. The consolidation of the Indian automobile industry is taking place at its own pace, with domestic and international brands entering into different partnerships to share technical knowledge and in turn utilize the supply chain. Maruti Suzuki and Jaguar Tata are classic examples of a consolidating industry both in the mass market and luxury car segment. Recently, due to owing to the introduction of electric vehicles, Tata Motors, Mahindra and Mahindra, and various other domestic manufacturers have been seen to exploit ties with international players for adopting best practices. With the advent of blockchain and IoT, the value chain will be affected immensely, and scope will amplify at various stages of the value chain, not only to monitor processes but also communicate data across channels and enhance the customer experience by providing best after sales services to stretch the product value. Blockchain in turn will reinforce a fragmented supply chain, control counterfeit products, provide smoother insurance and loans to the end users. Better people product experience will forge stronger ties with the brand, and the customer would be willing to pay for such value added services.
Hello everyone, my name is Rudrasha Dasgupta. So we have been taking a look on the value chain and phase analysis of the automobile sector of India. So let's take a look at a similar kind of analysis on the ride sharing sector of India, and we'll try to draw some conclusions based on our analysis. So let's take a look.
The mobility sector in the automotive industry is going through a highly disruptive phase wherein new models and ideas are being tested and implemented to serve the pain point of many commuters all across the globe. In a country with added population pressure, the growth to a sustainable development is possible only through applying technology to reduce environmental damage while striving for development. The Indian government is striving for promoting mass transit system and enforcing stricter emission norms to curb the pollution issue. In such an hour, car, bike, and cycle hiring models may be able to attract commuters to avail such services and in turn reduce using private vehicles. The transformation from ownership to usership will take time in this regard. Product innovation is picking up as newer startups enter this space to come up with a scalable, sustainable, and implementable process. The graph here very well depicts the travel demand in India compared to other Asian economies. Urban India is facing excessive pressure in terms of travel infrastructure and transportation problems. Encouraging newer sustainable ventures to tackle this problem may be a key for the future. The value chain in this sector is not very well established as the sector is in its nascent stage and undergoing experimentation. But technology is what drives this sector. Apart from rider information, customized experience for customers could be an added feature. Driver information and customer engagement will help businesses to come up with more innovative solutions and models to provide the best service and increase margins at targeted portions of the value chain.
Finally, we would like to conclude by saying that the Indian automotive sector looks to be in constant watch of analysts, investors, and players alike to determine the new way of conducting business. It would require a well thought strategy to position a firm in these changing times. Strategic intent and flexibility would be a key for firms to compete at various levels and gain supremacy in terms of resources and economic surplus.